Get this lion. He's the king of the jungle. Huge mane out there. He's laying down under a tree in the middle of Africa. He's so big. He's so hot. He doesn't want to move. Now, the little lion cubs, they start messing with him. Biting his tail, biting his ears. He doesn't do anything. The lioness, she starts messing with him, coming over, making trouble. Still, nothing. Now, the other animals, they notice this, and they start to move in. The jackals, hyenas, they're barking at him, laughing at him. They nip his toes and eat the food that's in his domain. They do this, and they get closer and closer and bolder, till one day, that lion gets up and tears the shit out of everybody, runs like the wind, eats everything in his path. Because every once in a while, the lion has to show the jackals who he is. It's too late to be scared. It's time to kill.
What is up, YouTube? Live via satellite here, and today we are talking Kingdom, manga chapters 613, 14, and 15. Alright, so yeah, it's been a little minute since I've been on this YouTube thing, right? I've been a little distracted lately, guys. I'm not gonna lie, I've been so distracted. Been on a little bit of a hiatus, but you know, like not like a Togashi level hiatus.
Dad, what you doing?
Playing Dragon Quest.
Are you supposed to be doing YouTube videos right now?
But guys, even still, while I've been away, I have been reading the chapters, and I've actually been reading them like immediately when they come out, so I haven't been waiting to do live reactions or anything like that. So this review is actually gonna be like totally old school. Yes, that's right. We are going back to our roots. And hopefully with some of these new copyright rules, we can possibly get away with it. But we'll see, right? And these few chapters, guys, have been pretty good. I mean, I don't want to say that things are heating up because we're like 100+ chapters into this arc. Things should be literally on fire by now. And I don't know, in these last couple of chapters with Osen under pressure, Riboku under pressure, it looks like we're finally getting there. I mean, we've actually seen Osen have to use his glaive, so the time is coming, people. We're so close, we're right there. And since we've waited this long, what's a little bit more? Alright, so chapter 613 starts out with some of the Akko army led by Akaken coming to help out the Hishin unit. And thanks to these reinforcements, the Hishin unit is actually able to pick up some speed due to the fact that the Zao have to divert some of their attention to the new incoming enemies. But the stuff I really loved here, man, had to do with Akaken. Not only do we see him talk about how thanks to their big play, Danzo was going to be able to rest in peace, not even knowing if he's dead. And at the same time, seeing a glimpse into why this guy is still a 1,000-man commander, as we see him casually barking out orders to a 2,000-man commander, not to mention all the things he's done with Danzo. I mean, he has no problem bossing around his superiors.
Look at me, sure. Look at me, sure. I'm the captain now.
But in Akaken's defense, even 2,000-man commander Keikyo alludes to the fact that not only are Akakin's skills respected, but near the climax of a battle, they actually don't mind having him around. And we see his analytical skills at work as he not only realizes that Shin is the star of today's battlefield, but also that this is probably what Osun had intended for when he sent Shin to this battlefield on the 3rd day. And with the Kinmo army under extreme pressure, we actually get to see how Kinmo takes this. And it's not very good. No, seriously, this was like my favorite part of the chapter. Because we see the usually level-headed Kinmo completely lose his shit. He is having a meltdown of epic proportions. I mean, this guy has had enough of the Hishin unit. So much so that he's borderline suicidal, like he'd rather die with glaive in hand holding down his position than to once again have to flee in disgrace. But lucky enough for Kinmo, he has an officer by the name of Chikushin who's able to talk Kinmo off the ledge, letting him know that Zao needs him and that men like him are pillars that hold their army up, and that with other pillars having already fallen such as Gakue, Gyun, and Chigaryu, the fate of Zao tips further and further in Shin's favor. And with Chikushin's tier 1 speech, he's able to knock some sense into Kinmo, who after hearing it has realized the error of his ways and apologizes for losing himself and leaves the HQ in Chikushin's hands, where he is shortly thereafter murdered by the Hishin unit. And with that defeat, the Chin right wing on the 15th day was finally able to emerge directly to the side of the Riboku center army, creating the pincer attack of certain victory devised by Osun when the battle had just begun. And we see that this brings a tremendous boost of morale to the Chin side. With the Hishin unit charging in, we also see the Denrimi and So-O armies making their push as well, all in the attempt to take Riboku's head and to attain certain victory. And with the momentum clearly in Chin's favor, over at Kane we see that the Zao are under tremendous pressure and being pushed back on every front. So much so that she's clearly concerned that Riboku is in tremendous danger. But at the moment she should be more concerned about her present battle, because her being distracted nearly cost her her life if it hadn't been for a timely save by Fute. And even though he did just save her life, Kane isn't too happy to see him. She's wondering what he's doing there, because he should be further back, closer to Riboku and protecting him. But he lets her know he's there for 2 reasons. One, so that he can see her face. And yes, if you didn't know by now, Fute has an obsession with Kane. But the second and more important reason he's there is because he has somewhere he has to be, and this at first sounded to Kane like he was doing his own thing, but Fute quickly lets her know that no, these are Riboku's orders, and that not only does Riboku send chills down his spine, but also that the battle isn't over just yet, and that the victor is still to be decided. But after further consideration, and thinking of the orders that Riboku has given him, Fute retracts his statement saying no. The winner shall be Zao. And that was the chapter in a nutshell, guys.
And now, a word from our sponsor.
I've tried fad diets, powders, pills, still my weight's been up and down like a yo-yo, until the AIDS plan taught me how to take off weight and help keep it off.
AIDS may taste like a candy, but AIDS contains one of the most effective appetite suppressants you can buy, and there's no stimulant in AIDS that could make you nervous.
With AIDS, I ate less, so the weight came off. To help keep it off when I sometimes want things loaded with calories, AIDS helps put me in control.
Let the AIDS plan teach you how to take off weight and help keep it off. Try peanut butter AIDS.
Alright, so the chapter picks up with the Riboku Center Army still being pressed by Osun's pincer attack. And right away, man, we see that these guys are thirsty for the blood of Riboku. We're seeing that the Denrimi army has broken through the lines with Riboku's HQ right in front of them. And that over at So-O, due to Denrimi's guys working so hard, it's actually helping to free them up a bit more. And they've only got a few more lines of defense to break through before they're at the HQ. Then over at Kane, we see just how stretched out the Zao defenses are due to Osun's pincer attack. Even though she's trying to encourage her men, letting them know that they can't allow the enemy to get through, one of them says that they need the reserves to hurry up and get there, otherwise they have no chance. But Kane has to be the bearer of bad news, letting him know that that ain't happening. Because at the moment, all the reserves have been dispatched to the left to help deal with the Hishin unit. And over at the Hishin unit, as they're battling their way through the Zao army, we see that they aren't too far from Riboku's HQ as well. And it hasn't escaped Shin's thoughts that he's so close to Riboku. And over at Riboku, we see he's almost blocking out the noise of all the reports he's getting, with his mind only set on the mission that he sent Fute on. And with the Fute unit on the offensive breaking through the Chin lines, this throws up red flags for both Denrimi and So-Oh, who believe that the Zhao men should be on the defensive, so why all of a sudden would a small unit be trying to break through? And this is where things got really interesting, because now we get to see the train of thought between Denrimi and So-Oh. And we see that initially So-Oh thinks that they may try to wheel around and attack them from behind, but after seeing them continue to ride forward, So-Oh and Denrimi quickly come to the conclusion that they're after Osun. But here's where things get even more intricate. Even though both So-Oh and Denrimi initially wanted to send support to take out Fute's unit, they both soon come to the realization that this is probably some sort of feint. Being that Fute's unit is only a couple of hundred men going up against 5,000, they believe that Riboku's trying to trick them to send aid to Osun, which would weaken their advance at getting to Riboku. So instead of falling for what they perceive to be Riboku's trick, they instead focus all efforts on their assault and essentially ignore Fute. Which, when we get back to Fute, is exactly what Riboku predicted. Take a second and let that sink in. These guys trying not to be fooled by Riboku were actually fooled by Riboku. So with no aid coming, Fute and his men are allowed to focus strictly on their job at hand, proceeding to charge directly for the Osun HQ. Then back at the Chin fronts, we see as they're trying to inch their way closer to Riboku's HQ that the defense is getting tougher and tougher. And we're seeing that Kinmo is pretty much responsible for this on the Heishin units front, but Ten also realizes that the defenses have gotten a lot tougher because Zhao's back is against the wall, and that their desperation is actually giving them strength, but that this is the final hurdle that stands in their way. Over at the Osun HQ, we see that Fute is taking a more reserved approach, telling his men not to go too far in and just to focus on the enemies that come to them. And over at Osun, we see that his men are discussing that Fute's unit is formidable, but it would take more than that for their HQ to fall. And we see that these officers at the HQ are thinking pretty much the same things that Denrimi and So-Oh thought. That Riboku sent this unit to try to bait them and it didn't work. And one even goes as far as to say that he's surprised Riboku would do such a pointless maneuver. But Osun, gazing over the battlefield, realizes no, Riboku isn't the type to do anything pointless, and that he fully intends to crush their HQ. And with his men not understanding how, Osun says there's something else, and after focusing more says no, there's something coming. And just like that, Osun's men are in shock as we see a mysterious army charging for their right flank. But in the confusion, we see that Fute and his men aren't shocked at all. In fact, they've been waiting for the arrival of this army, as we see Fute say he's finally here, the demon of Gammon. And it's here we see that it is none other than Benaji and his army that has arrived as almost out of thin air to attack the Osun HQ. And as Riboku's informed of his arrival, we flash over to all of the Chin commanders who are completely in shock. Ten even thinking, there's no way, that's impossible. But possible it is, as we see Benaji joining the fray and Fute beginning to go all out. Everyone on the battlefield finally realizes Riboku's play, as he says an eye for an eye, a pincer for a pincer. And that was the chapter in a nutshell, guys.
And now, a word from our sponsor.
The Flintstones has been brought to you by Winston, America's best-selling, best-tasting filter cigarette. Winston tastes good like a cigarette should.
Alright, so the chapter starts out with a flashback back over to the Akko army and stand-in Commander Danza. And judging by how the last chapter ended with the Benaji army appearing out of nowhere, it seems like we're going to get an explanation in this chapter to what all went down. And it doesn't take long for us to find out what happened, because as Danza and his army are bracing for an attack and pretty much getting ready to hold the enemy so that they can't interfere with Osun's pincer attack, the Benaji army surprises them by not coming for them at all and instead moving toward the right. Confused by their intentions and thinking this may be some sort of feint, Danza, instead of pursuing, sends out lookouts just in case the Benaji army reappears. But while Danza was confused about what was going on, we see that Benaji was moving down south and crossing through the rough terrain to emerge on Osun's flank. And here I think it's perfect that it was emphasized the reason they could do this was because their horses were from the north, and their horses are used to that sort of terrain, and this is something that's already been emphasized earlier in the arc, and it's understandable why Danza probably thought Bananji had nowhere he could run to. But this is the way that Riboku, just like Osun, was able to set him up for a pincer attack. And then we're seeing that everybody on the battlefield is realizing this, and a lot of the Zhao guys are thinking that they're now on equal footing, but the Chin guys think that they still have the advantage. Only due to the fact that the group that's attacking Osun is much smaller than the one that's attacking Riboku. But then Rimi lets us know that things are equal, because even though their group is smaller, the amount of men the Osun HQ has is actually smaller as well, especially when compared to Riboku's. And Denrimi isn't the only one who notices this, So-Oh notices as well, but he realizes it's too late for them to send any help, and the only thing they can do is trust in Osun and try to take out Riboku first. Then we find ourselves over on the battlefield with Kishui and Moten, and Kishui, hearing the news that Riboku's HQ is under attack, orders Bate to take a mid-sized unit over to help Riboku out. But over at Moten, he's also realizing that something's awry, and he heads out over to the main battlefield as well and hands over command back to Mako's officers. Over at Riboku, as he's barking out orders, we see just how much pressure his HQ is under, as we see some Chin soldiers actually breaking through to attack Riboku. And even though these guys are easily dealt with, Riboku's men think it would be wise for him to fall back, but Riboku believes for right now the situation is still acceptable. But seeing Shiryu and So-Oh in front of him getting closer and closer, he has to admit it would be a different story if those two were able to break through. Speaking of which, we see Shiryu and So-Oh both halted by the arrival of Earl Ko, who had the line of the chapter as when he arrives, telling Shiryu that that's as far as you go, and my, aren't you a big one? Which she couldn't even help but to smirk. But over at Kane, hearing the news that Earl Ko's arrived, she believes that that's going to be enough to stop the advance. But she doesn't believe that the same goes for their side, because they don't know what Bananji's truly capable of, especially once he gets serious. And we just see Bananji just going to town on Osun's HQ, and even Osun is shocked a little bit. And even Fute appears shocked, but then remembers what Kane had let him know about how Bananji was a whole different type of person when he was fighting up north, and that the Zhengnu even called him a demon. And I thought it was pretty cool that we finally get to see Bananji going all out, especially when it was alluded to earlier in the arc that Bananji was still holding back quite a bit. And then as Osun's men are thinking about the situation and seeing how they need to stop Bananji because he's definitely about to make his way through, we actually see Osun's HQ, just like Riboku's, being attacked by a few men who managed to break through. But it appears that Osun is in even more of a pinch because he has to get his glaive and take one of these guys out himself. And I have to admit, it was nice to see Osun going down there and taking some of these guys out because, you know, he is brains, but we see that he's not afraid to get his hands dirty.
Haha, Jerry. Tonight you in it for a real treat. I'm personally going to prepare the dinner for you and the Mayodri.
But Osun's situation is even more dangerous because it wasn't just those stragglers, there's another detachment coming his way. So Osun actually decides to venture down to where Fute is. I'm thinking probably because they had the least amount of men. But trust me, Fute has no problem with that. In fact, I'd venture to say he's welcoming the opportunity. I mean, for him, it's almost like Osun serving his own head up on a silver platter. Then back over at Denrimi, we see that he's noticing that Osun's HQ looks like it is falling apart. And it's here you can tell he realizes that Osun's life may actually be in jeopardy. And he's not the only one who realizes this, because over at Riboku, he's thinking that victory is all but his. But just as he's getting ready to pop the champagne, Riboku notices that there's a small detachment over by Osun's HQ. And as we pan over to that scene, we see that it's Ohan and his guys. And while these guys are all shocked to see Osun's HQ in such a bad situation, we learn from Kanjo that the only reason these guys happened to be there in the first place was because they trailed the Bananji army when they saw them moving off somewhere in great speed. But seeing Osun's HQ about to fall was definitely not what they were expecting to find. But to everyone's surprise, Ohan says let's go. But Kanjo jumps in to try and stop Ohan because at the moment they have nowhere near the numbers to be able to help out in the situation. And Kanjo believes that before they jump in, they should at least go and get some reinforcements. But Ohan tells them by the time they did that, it would be too late and they would lose their supreme commander. But that's when Kanjo lets us know just how short-handed they actually are. They only have 20 men. But Ohan stubbornly tells Kanjo that you don't know until you try. So Kanjo, knowing that Ohan's not going to back down from this, tries to at least negotiate with him a little bit. Letting him know, like, listen, we'll go and try to save the Supreme Commander. You at least go and try to get some help. But even this compromise wasn't enough for Ohan. Not only does he want to go in, he wants to lead the attack. Kanjo, fed up at this point, wonders why Ohan wants to throw his life away so recklessly, knowing that things are impossible. And Ohan says, it's exactly because it seems so hopeless that I must go. And he continues, I must go save my father. And we just see Kanjo and Banyo looking complete shock as Ohan says, those of you that can follow, follow. Let's go. And that was the chapter in a nutshell, guys. Alright guys, so those were some really good chapters of Kingdom. I really actually enjoyed them a lot, and they really kind of focused on that same theme we've been getting throughout the arc, that Osun and Riboku are pretty much on equal playing fields. When you look at chapter 613, that one pretty much just focuses on Osun's plans, and that shows you that he had already formulated this pincer attack way back on the first day of the battle. Actually, when you think about it, I actually think it was even the day before that when both Osun and Riboku were like looking over the battlefield, and you could see they were making their plans in their head about how this battle was going to unfold. And honestly, to me, it seems like everything has gone according to Osun's plan, except for the minor hiccups here and there. But it looks like for the most part, this is exactly where Osun wanted to be. And then in 614, we not only see how Osun's plan is actually working against Riboku, but also what Riboku does to counter it. And why I love Riboku's counter so much is because he actually uses Osun's pincer attack against him, making Denrimi and So-Oh believe that he's trying to weaken the pincer attack by sending Fute as a little bit of a distraction or as bait. Was brilliant to me that he understood what those guys would be thinking, and it pretty much allowed for Fute to make it through the entire Osun army unscathed, to then along with Bananji allow them to create their own pincer attack. And I think this actually shows that Riboku already knew that he was going to be in this particular situation, because if you remember a couple chapters before, Riboku was already setting up Bananji to be able to make this play. And then in 615, we get to see that even though these guys are essentially equals at this point, the one thing that gives Zhao the slight edge is home field advantage. Just like how if two sports teams were going head to head and they were pretty much equal, the thing that would like break that tie would be who was playing at home. And we get to see this home field advantage executed perfectly when Bananji is able to slip away from the Akko army to appear on Osun's flank, due to the fact that their horses were able to navigate rough terrain, something that the Qin forces would never have expected to be possible. And of course, the other advantage they have is their numbers, because once both HQs found themselves in pincer attacks, Osun's HQ has fewer numbers than Riboku's, so you can see that his is being put on a little bit more of a strain, to the point that even though Riboku was advised to move from his HQ, he was still able to stay put, while Osun at his HQ was forced to move. So by the end of the chapter, we're seeing that it's just pretty much a race against time, seeing who can kill the other army's supreme commander first. And that's exactly why it's important that Ohan makes the call he makes at the end of the chapter, because even though Kanjo had very good arguments, Ohan realizes there's no time left, and then if they don't make this move, even as hopeless as it seems, then the whole campaign is about to go up in smoke. And even though some may think this is a stupid decision, as we'll dive into in future chapters, this was clearly the right thing to do in order to keep from losing the war. But yeah guys, that's about all I wanted to talk about with the chapters. They were pretty straightforward, so I think we covered all the bases. Really can't wait to talk about the next batch of chapters. Probably just keep it to 3 until I get caught up. But yeah guys, the comment of the week goes out to everybody who's been asking what's going on with the videos, where the videos at, you know, checking up on me, seeing what's going on. And anybody who's followed this channel for a little bit knows around football season, stuff gets slow around here, guys. I play too much fantasy football and I'm an Eagles fan. And I can't lie, it consumes me. But as my team season and my fantasy seasons are all being flushed down the toilet, I'm finding myself having more spare time. So with that being said, hopefully we can get back on schedule here. And I really want to thank you guys for your support and, you know, your questions and things like that. And I really wanted to pick up where I left off, because not only did I start this video a while back and wanted to finish it, but I also didn't want to just pick up right where all the excitement is right now. I feel it would be much better if we just worked right up to it. But if you guys want to talk about it in the comments, I am caught up, so don't worry about it. But anyway, guys, that about does it for this week's video. Let me know what you guys thought about it in the comments section below. Please leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and feel free to share, comment, and subscribe. Peace out.